Sometimes, kindness doesn't arrive with loud words or grand promises. Sometimes, it comes quietly, riding in on dusty boots, offering patience when the world has only offered pain. This is a story about two souls who met in the wide, unforgiving land of the American West. A story about waiting, respect, and a kind of love that grows only when kindness is given first. Before we begin, if stories like this touch your heart, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and comment below. It truly helps the channel grow and allows us to keep sharing meaningful stories. You're watching Soul Tales, where kindness always finds its way home. Her name was Lila. She arrived in the small western town with one suitcase, tired eyes, and a heart that had learned how to stay guarded. Lila was a black woman from the city, someone who had learned to survive by being strong. Life had taught her that trust could be broken easily and that love often came with conditions. She had loved before, deeply, and it had left her feeling unseen and unheard. So when she decided to leave everything behind, she didn't tell anyone her real reason. She just said she needed space. Truthfully, she needed healing. The ranch sat miles outside town, surrounded by endless land and a sky that felt too big at first. She had taken the job as a temporary helper, thinking she'd stay a few weeks at most, just long enough to breathe again. That's where she met Caleb. Caleb was a rancher who didn't talk much. He had sun-worn skin, kind eyes, and a calm way of moving, like he wasn't in a hurry to prove anything. He had grown up on that land, raised by parents who believed that respect mattered more than words. When he first met Lila, he tipped his hat and simply said, "You're welcome here." No staring, no questions, no assumptions, and that small moment of kindness surprised her more than she expected. In town, people noticed her. Some were curious, some were unsure. A few were unkind in quiet ways, but Caleb never treated her like she was something to figure out. To him, she was just Lila. A woman who worked hard, laughed softly, and sometimes stared at the horizon like she was searching for herself. He showed her how to care for the horses, how to mend fences, and where the sun set best in the evening. He never hovered, never pushed. When she spoke, he listened. When she was quiet, he let the silence stay comfortable. Days turned into weeks. Lila found herself sleeping better. The air felt cleaner. The land felt honest. And for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like she had to explain who she was. One evening, after a long day of work, they sat on the porch watching the sky turn orange and pink. Lila talked about her childhood, about her grandmother who taught her that kindness was strength, not weakness. Caleb listened, his hands folded, eyes steady. When she stopped, waiting for judgment or advice, he simply said, "Sounds like she raised you right." That was it. No fixing, no correcting, just respect. That night, something shifted inside her. But kindness doesn't mean fear disappears overnight. There were moments when Lila pulled away. Days when old memories came back and made her distant. She worried that if she let herself care, she'd lose herself again. And Caleb noticed, but he didn't chase her emotions or demand explanations. Instead, he waited. He waited in the way he always did, by being consistent, by showing up, by treating her the same on her quiet days as he did on her bright ones. People in town began to talk. A black woman and a white rancher working side by side wasn't something everyone understood. Some looks were heavy, some words were careless. Lila felt the weight of it more than Caleb did. One day, after a particularly uncomfortable visit to town, she told him she might leave. "I don't want to be a problem," she said, her voice shaking, "for you or anyone else." Caleb looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "You're not a problem," he said gently. "But I won't stop you if you need to go. I just want you to do what feels right for your heart. No guilt, no pressure." That kindness broke her more than anger ever could. She realized then that he wasn't trying to own her story or rewrite it. He was simply offering space beside him if she chose it. Weeks passed, then months. Their connection deepened slowly, built on shared work, shared meals, and long conversations under wide skies. Caleb never rushed her feelings. When she finally told him about the heartbreak she carried, about the time she felt invisible, he didn't interrupt. He just said, "I see you." And for Lila, those 3 words meant everything. Love didn't arrive like lightning. It grew like a steady fire, warm and reliable, the kind that doesn't burn out quickly because it isn't fueled by ego. When Caleb finally admitted his feelings, he didn't make promises he couldn't keep. "I care about you," he said, "and I'm not going anywhere. But I'll wait as long as you need." No one had ever waited for her heart before. That patience taught her something powerful. That kindness isn't passive. It's a choice made again and again, even when it would be easier to demand more. Eventually, Lila chose to stay, not because she was afraid to leave, but because she finally felt safe enough to belong. Their love didn't erase the challenges of the world. They still faced looks, questions, and moments that reminded them that kindness isn't always common. But they faced them together, grounded in respect. Caleb learned about her culture, her history, and her strength. Lila learned about the land, the rhythms of ranch life, and the quiet bravery it takes to love without control. Together, they built something honest. Years later, when people asked how they made it work, Lila would smile and say, "He didn't try to save me, he just treated me right." And Caleb would add, "She taught me that kindness grows best when you give it without expecting anything back." Their story became one people whispered about, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, a reminder that love rooted in kindness can cross boundaries, heal old wounds, and create something stronger than fear. In a world that often rushes hearts and labels souls, their Wild West love story stood as proof that patience is powerful, respect is rare, and kindness is the truest form of love. So if there's one thing to take from Lila and Caleb's journey, let it be this: you never know how far a simple act of kindness can reach. Sometimes it doesn't just change a moment, it changes a life. And maybe, just maybe, it starts a love story that the world didn't expect but desperately needs. Thank you for listening. May you go forward choosing kindness, waiting when it matters, and loving with a heart that leaves room for others to be whole.